Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
All right, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit nervous. My sister, my Congresswoman, but you know, the caliber of person she is, I'm like, okay, God, please let all the tech be working correctly. Y'all make sure you all can hear me. Shout out to everyone over on Instagram and Twitter as well. We're going to give folks about 1 minute to about 30 seconds because we want to make the best use of our Congresswoman's time here in the Java Cafe. And so many people may be aware, but some may not be aware that January 15th is the actual birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. We're going to discuss his legacy, his work, and the dream, and how it translates and inspires us as a form of resistance. And so without further ado, I would like to bring our Congresswoman into the Java Cafe, but I would really like all of you to do me a favor and hit that share button, tag people, and invite them into the cafe to hear what our Congresswoman has to say, as well as I know a lot of people, you know, this woman owes nobody an explanation, but outside of the fact that she's going to be here in district on Monday. And so we're going to talk about the event that she's having on Monday to curate to celebrate Dr. King's birthday, which is the designated federal holiday, but today is the actual birthday. And so without further ado, I would like to bring in my friend, my sister, and Congresswoman into the Java Cafe. She's no stranger. We count her as a charter member of the Java Cafe from back in 2020 in AP. It'll be 5 years on March 22nd.
Wow. Wow. Happy birthday. That's incredible. You know, I might be an early supporter and guest, yet I still don't have a Java with Jimmy Mugg. So I don't know. Maybe 2025 will be my year. but let's get into it. It's good to be with you, with everyone.
With you as well. And I'm glad that we were able to, as you curate and talk about often, is Black Joy. And this morning, and as you know, this platform has, and you're sensitive to it and have had your own period of grieving and mourning and can still be in because there's no time limit on it. But Congresswoman, we are this morning in the district. There have been many transitions, deaths, and loss of loved ones, including Kyrie Ambrose, including the Simmons, D. Simmons mom, and so many others. And we're going to talk about the Barrows family in a second as well. But in the context, as I always do, ask how you're doing. You're aware of what's going on in the district. You're close to families. You know. How are you doing? And in the context of the observation of we're dealing with grieving and mourning.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say that, I've been characterizing this period of time for our country as something that Ayanna Van Zandt coined as, I remember reading this book many years ago, in the meantime. We are currently in the meantime. We are on the back heels of an electoral outcome that is different than what we worked for, prayed for, desired. And, in a space of anticipation of what is to come next. And when you layer that, certainly I would never draw an equivalency with an electoral loss with that of the loss of a loved one. But what it does mean is just we're in a period of emotional limbo, stagnation. And then when you layer that with the profound loss of a loved one, be it a matriarch with Mayor Simmons' mother, or be it with a child whose full aspirations and dreams were not realized because their life was tragically cut short, with a Kyrie Ambrose, or with Christian Barrows. Again, just it is a lot to navigate and to manage. So, everyone in their own way, for different reasons, is in a season of grieving and mourning. So what I would just ask is that everyone be gentle with themselves and extend grace to one another.
Congresswoman, that, there's so much, and I want to keep us focused. But I thank you for just naming the last part there about grace, because there is the balance. I put a post up today, and if you could take 30 seconds, because the space, and reiterate, it is important that we drink extra water, that we eat, and that we sleep. And when you talk about the grace, and a lot of us are helpers, and we support your husband, and with the Barrows family, yourself. And so I just wanted to also mention, when you talk about grace, that I believe it was Brother Conan that has curated a prayer time. We know that Brother Christian has transitioned, but the prayer is still going on tomorrow morning and up until Friday to support the family. Right. And my understanding is that you have been on those calls. You're a woman of faith. If you could just speak to that and how important it is to gather with community and family. And then also, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, so I would just say, Dr. King left behind many profound writings and teachings and lessons and calls to more, elevated ideal practices in how we live and center the humanity of our fellow brothers and sisters. One of those writings, that book that he authored, posed the question, where do we go from here, chaos or community? And I'm seeking to be intentional in choosing community. And I want to encourage everyone to do the same, to lean into community, to create spaces for community. Again, there's so much we're navigating, and it's not just within your city, your commonwealth, your neighborhood, your family. It's what we see happening around the globe. And so people are fragile. And I just want to encourage everyone to recognize your own power in creating tables, in creating community, in creating safe space. So my husband Conan and one of our siblings, our chosen family in Ron Dorsey, have pulled together this prayer call every morning from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And people from there's nothing exclusive about prayer and community. So if anyone would like more information about that, we'll certainly drop that into the chat. But that will be going on for the remainder of the week. And we do open it up for other prayer requests as well. But the initial prompt for that was to come together and to pray for healing and then to pray for strength after Christian transition. The name Christian means follower of Christ. And I know that he knew God. He followed God, even in his brief time here on earth. It's the only way he would have been able to summon the courage and the strength for the fights that he took on every day. And I know and believe that now that he's followed Christ home. And as we said on the call this morning, Pastor Broderick offered that he's and Pastor Mariama Mari, that he's left his father's heavenly embrace on earth, but gone on to God's heavenly embrace. But again, we cannot wrap our minds around the grief of a parent losing a child, the Kyrie Ambrose family. It just goes against the natural order of things. You and I have been in a number of trauma spaces together and spoke about that there's, when you lose a spouse, you're a widow or widower. When you lose a parent, you're an orphan. But there's no characterization for what it means to lose a child, because it goes against the natural order of things. But again, everyone is grieving in their own way. So whatever people are mourning, lean on community. If you're people of faith, lean on your faith. And again, let's just extend grace to one another. And speaking of the power of convening and building and creating community, on Monday, on the observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s national holiday, we'll be having an event, a beloved community event at the bowling building at 1:30.
We're going to go. We're going to go to.
Wonderful.
I did well, and I actually, when you come on now, I have agendas, but I again, want to raise the importance that you're raising about community, and we're going to end with that because I think it's important to be intentional about ending with Black joy. You mentioned a heavenly birthday, and I want to acknowledge, as you say, an adopted sibling as well, or he's more like a uncle to all of us. Uncle Thaddeus is celebrating his mom's heavenly birthday, and from your own experience, Congresswoman, it's the first. And whenever it's the first holiday, the first birthday, it's a lot. And so we know Uncle Thaddeus, if you could speak to that as well. And then we're going to go into some of the work you're doing as well, because I know I can't have you on here and you're not going to talk about the work as well.
They'll keep us on time. I am in Washington because that's where my work is, my committee work, my legislative votes, the press conferences, constitutionally mandated to be here for those things. So I am in Washington Monday through Friday, but I thought it important as often as we could come and be in virtual community with you, that we do that. And I would just say, again, we have an incredible village of incredible movement and community builders who pour into us, righteously stewarding their many gifts. And certainly Thaddeus has done that with his photography, with his wellness, with Black joy. And so that's someone who's poured into all of us. And we remember, we're thinking of you, and please, pour into him. Those first milestones of grief are very, very hard. And so I would just say for Thaddeus, for the Ambrose family, for the Barrows family, or any other family that people want to drop into the chat and name that we lift up, the remembrance that grief has many phases and iterations, and it will persist for a very long time. So just continue to be intentional in showing up beyond wakes and memorials and funerals, because eventually the casserole dishes stop coming, the visitors stop coming, and then what you were left with is the midnight hour and a profound grief and an emptiness, and and still being expected to show up at your job, to show up in community and all the other ways that you do. So again, I'm just going to make that appeal while our country, our nation, is in the meantime. And while we are layering that with everything from instances of domestic terrorism and natural disasters and profound personal losses, that we are being intentional about being kind to one another, extending grace to one another, and patience.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for that. And I'm going to jump into sort of the work, because supporting, dealing, friends and family in the district, but you're still working. And, I have my own thoughts about, and I know that you and Conan and support, and Sarah and everybody, make sure you do self-care. So let's go into the work. And I want to make an observation, because I thank you for your grace of not comparing the gravity of what happened with the election with those in the loss of a loved one. But on November 6th, Congresswoman, I had a clinical psychologist on here and held space, and she credited what you were thinking, but gave grace not to, offend anyone. Oh, there is grieving in what you're doing in the work. There is. And so there's critical affirmation to what you were being sensitive to. In that point, two things that you have worked on a lot: debt cancellation for students. But one of the major things most recently before Monday was clemency. And you still, there was one round. And are you currently still?
There's been two rounds, and we expect that there'll be another one, and so we're still pushing. So we had our final press conference yesterday. But let me just give the viewers some education here, because sometimes people see you and hear you pushing on a thing and they're like, why that thing? Well, first of all, people sent me to Washington to do that work. Criminal legal reform and addressing this mass incarceration crisis has always been a big part of my legislative portfolio and my mission. And so I came to Washington with a mandate to do that work. We have a mass incarceration crisis. 1 in 2 people in this country have an incarcerated loved one. And that has everything to do with systemic injustices and sentencing disparities and a broken clemency system, which has contributed formidably to that. We have a backlog of thousands of people whose lives just hang in the balance. Only the president has this authority. And just so you know, I've been doing this work in this space long before the pardon of Hunter Biden. 3 years ago, myself, Representative Cori Bush, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of our caucus, introduced legislation, the Fixed Clemency Act. And so this is work I've been doing a long time. But why we're focused on it right now is that the president, Biden, the Harris administration are in a period of lame duck. So they're still governing, but they're on their way out. And so this is a time to do work that inoculates us from the anticipated harm we expect to come, but it's also about legacy. So I've been advocating for any empty federal judgeships, for those seats to be filled. I've been advocating for a halt to deportations to Haiti, because believe it or not, we are still deporting people to Haiti, which is nothing short of a death sentence. We've been advocating for the Equal Rights Amendment to finally enshrine gender equality in our Constitution, because we don't have that, believe it or not. We've been advocating for all federal dollars to get out of the door, because I believe in the power of the purse. And there are millions of dollars that have been appropriated for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, for the Massachusetts 7th, that although appropriated, have yet to be dispersed. And then finally, the tool of clemency, because that is about second chances. That is about redemption. That is about people making a positive contribution. I don't know why anyone is still incarcerated for a cannabis conviction. There are women that are incarcerated for the crimes of their abusers. They were just defending themselves against their abusers. There are people that are disabled, that are elderly, that are chronically ill. There are people that are there because of sentencing disparities around crack cocaine. So people who pose no threat to public safety. Look at those incarcerated individuals in California, 800, who are being enlisted to fight wildfires, who are maybe getting $5 a day to do that. And then at the end of that day, return to a work camp instead of returning home reunited with their families so that they can make a positive contribution. We've had incarcerated individuals that were making hand sanitizer during the pandemic. So they can do the work of saving lives, but we're denying them an opportunity to be reunited with their families and to make a contribution, a positive contribution. And you all know the story of my father, someone whose substance use disorder was criminalized, very destabilizing to our household and our life. When my father came out of prison, he went on to become a college professor and a dean of a college. And a successfully published author, but most importantly, 10 years ago, walked me down the aisle to the love of my life. And so we are grateful that President Biden has heeded our calls and acted with the 1,500 commutations for those on home confinement. There were 1,500 people, and I led the charge for that fight during the pandemic for people to be decarcerated during the pandemic who posed no public threat to society. 1,500 individuals have been home on home confinement, like a 65-year-old grandfather serving a 40-year sentence for a nonviolent cannabis conviction. He now knows that he is going to stay home with his grandbabies. So that is one example, 39 pardons. And then, of course, on death row, because Joe Biden has long been against the death penalty, as am I don't think state-sanctioned murder is justice. Them 37 souls on death row, their sentences were commuted to life without parole. And now we continue to fight for President Biden in these remaining hours and days to use the tool of clemency, because pardons and commutations are powerful and life-changing. And it's a matter of addressing systemic injustices, doing the right thing, and it is also a matter of legacy. There are so many individuals like my father who stand to make formidable contributions, who should be reunited with their families and doing that.
Congresswoman, you talk about legacy, and you're leaving a legacy with a lot of this, and a lot of people, may not understand lame duck session. and things like that. But for the movement, and I did not know, I observed that you were going in the second round. You completed the second round, and you're now in the third of trying to get more. And the equity there, you talk about sentencing disparities and wrongful convictions. I don't know if you heard that Joey Bennett, after all these years, the DA basically did the Latin when they no, they're not going to prosecute. And so I believe what's going on at the federal has a local, influence here as well. We do have just a few more moments, Congresswoman, and I wanted to, what you're advocating for is with an ally, a presumed ally in this space, and you're having to go this hard with a presumed ally. The next 4 years, and in the context of us getting ready to talk about the Black Joy that you're going to curate on Monday, what is it that you would say to your constituency here in the district in reference to what's going to happen in the next 4 years and why you're being intentional about being in district with your constituents on Monday?
Yeah. Well, look, first and foremost, I want to say that I'm certainly no election denier. I recognize the election result and outcomes, as sad and as worried as I am about it. That being said, I did join a joint session of Congress to participate in the certification of the election results. I will not be at the inauguration because I will be in community. I think that is the best way to honor the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I will, however, be sure to watch President-elect Trump's speech later in the day.
Why is that important, Congresswoman?
I'm going to tell you why. Because Dr. King taught us, and I want to quote him exactly, that we need to study the words of oppressors in order to inform our strategy to press for justice. So I will be actively listening and I will study those words in order to inform my strategy for the next 4 years, because I have governed under a Trump presidency. You all have lived under one. I've governed under insurrections and impeachments and under pandemics. And so, in this moment, I'm being very thoughtful about how to continue to do the work of advancing progress while also active resistance and affront to the harm that I do anticipate. Project 2025 is no longer Project 2025. It's just simply Trump's agenda. And that was always true. And the Massachusetts 7th, which again is majority parts Boston, Cambridge, all of Somerville, Randolph, Everett, Chelsea, and Milton, was one of the hardest hit districts in the country by Trump's presidency and by the pandemic. And so if I'm anticipating wholesale harm and, things like a dissolution of Head Start, low income childcare, the Massachusetts 7th, I have 2,600 constituents who access Head Start services. In the Commonwealth, we have about 11,000 individuals. That would be incredibly destabilizing. The work that I've done, my leadership on student debt cancellation as the lead negotiator in the House on those things. And again, you say an ally, yes, but part of partnership with an ally is to hold them accountable.
That's
Biden
right.
made commitments on student debt, wasn't moving on it. We organized, we mobilized, we pressed, and millions of borrowers have benefited from that relief. Well, they want to dismantle the Department of Education and privatize our loans. A lot of progress stands to be rolled back with more impactful and adverse policy implications to come if they make good on the playbook that was Project 2025 that I believe fully is just simply Trump's agenda. I've never known extremist Republicans to not make good on things. When they don't make threats, they make promises. So this is why on Monday, we're having this beloved community event to be rooted in community, to do the work of being intentional about never stopping, because it doesn't matter who's in the Oval Office. It doesn't matter who's at the State House, who's at City Hall. It doesn't matter who's in the House, or the Senate. my work doesn't change. It is still about being rooted in community and advancing bold, people-centered policies and doing that work cooperatively. And so we're going to come together in beloved community. Again, King posed the question, well, where will we go, chaos or community? And I'm choosing community. So we're going to be at the bowling building at 1:30. This is an all ages event, family friendly event. You want to know what to do with the babies? They're not in school after you've stopped by some of the other incredible traditional events that we have, including in the morning, the longest standing MLK breakfast in the country. Please do come by. There'll be face painting. You can make a plate. And most importantly, there will be community-based organizations there speaking, interacting, tabling to make sure that people are aware of their rights. Because there is a lot of disinformation and misinformation out there. And we want people to know that we have their backs. But of course, I can't be with the 700,000 people that I represent every day and every moment of the day. And so it's important that people are personally have that agency and that awareness and that knowledge about their rights. And so we'll have a number of community partners that join us in that. So again, it's Monday at 1:30 at the bowling building in Nubian Square for a beloved community event, family friendly, all ages. We'll have a DJ, face painting. You can make a plate, and we'll have community partners also there to make sure that that you're empowered and you know your rights as we head into this next phase. But I have an optimism bias, I think in large part because of my faith in God that keeps me centered. I do believe that we will get to the other side here, but it is going to be very important that we look to and lean on one another.
Congresswoman, I was sitting here and I went in on large screen and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I went in full screen and I'm just looking at you. And I told you in the pre-convo, you're radiating, and it's just amazing that our young women have multiple women who are leading, Black women who are holding it down, but then also understand family and Black joy and stick-to-itiveness and being their authentic selves. That's what I saw today exuding from you, in the fight. I want to be sensitive to time because Ricardo and Sarah and them, and you may have something to do. But I just thank you and ask you to end with, you talked about misinformation. We're getting to approach 5 years. This platform is rooted in community. How important, Congresswoman, is it that we ensure that we support our Black joy? The Davis system put something up about like not doom scrolling and stuff.
Yeah.
That
shout
part,
out to the Davis system. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. What is it that you will say in addition to the event and what Thaddeus does? How do we maintain our Black joy for the next 4 years? Well, hopefully just for the next 2 years from now and then 4. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I wanted to say how much I appreciate this platform and this community that you forged, which you began to create in the midst of the pandemic at a time when people felt incredibly hopeless and helpless. This is an example of the power of community, that you gave people a place of refuge, a sounding board. You provided information and resources. So again, for me, the analog that I'm using as a reference point is the pandemic, because that was wholesale harm. And again, I just want to acknowledge, as we were talking about Kyrie Ambrose earlier, that his family is devastated, but of course he affected many lives, right? And that is the thing about any individual that we're robbed of, that you have an immediate family that's impacted, but you have the broader community, right? So Boston Arts Academy and the Mattapan community and Boston writ large. And that's true for every single loss. So again, how we preserve our joy as we are reeling and navigating electoral losses, personal losses, sitting with, perhaps fear and uncertainty about what is to come. In my district office in Dorchester, shout out to my dedicated A team there, they get calls every day from people that need help in navigating casework around Social Security, immigration, passports. And whatever the call is, they're like, can you finish this by January 20th? Because we're in the meantime, and they're anxious about what might their fate be on the other side of this. So I'm just going to say that we have to be, again, as radical in the work of resistance, and while still trying to advance progress, we have to be just as radical about our joy and our healing. So again, I'm going to ask people to be patient with yourselves and one another. If people are slower in getting back to you, if people are taking a break from meetings and marches and conference calls because they are doing the work necessary for their own mental health and wholeness, that this is not the time for judgment. I'm just operating from a place of everyone is doing their level best. Everyone is doing their level best. So, but the best way to preserve our joy is to be unapologetic about it. When, they're coming to potentially for a rollback of our civil and our human rights, we can't surrender our joy to them either. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's the tradition that we're rooted in and what we come from. How do you think our enslaved ancestors were still singing in the fields? We're still finding ways to bond and to bind themselves, jumping over brooms and being hopeful about the next day and tomorrow. If they could keep themselves, if they could still allow themselves to radically dream of a day where they and their children's children could be free, where they would not know a life of brutality and servitude and terrorism, if they could allow themselves to think that, to dream that, to pray for that, and to still keep their joy, to raise their voices in song, how dare we not do the same? So continue to be radical in your dreaming and unapologetic in your Black joy. They might be coming for the progress that has been made, the gains that have been made, coming for our rights, but we can't surrender our joy to them.
Congresswoman, thank you. I said joy, very last thing. There's a bundle of joy that recently dropped in the city of Boston to
yes. Congratulations to Mayor Wu. Yes, congratulations to Mayor Wu.
First to be, in office and give birth while in office, ending on that joy as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Such an important reminder. And, to the Davis Systems point about not doom scrolling and things like that, as I've said many times before, it's so important that when we come together, that we not only do it to trauma bond. So the work of resistance is important, but we can't only come together to trauma bond. So let's be intentional about creating those spaces where we look up and we're unapologetic in our joy and acknowledge that even in the midst of challenging times, that there are still good things happening, that there are still victories to celebrate in your life every day. I mean, heck, some days I'm just celebrating that I woke up and that I got up. Sometimes that's the biggest victory in your day, is that you got up. But we have to name those things, acknowledge those things, and give ourselves permission to be celebratory. So, while we're doing the work of resistance, of movement and community building, please don't only come together to trauma bond. Break bread to celebrate life's milestones and victories, and bring meetings together that are about the affirmative visionary of the world that we want to leave behind, of the world that we want to shape. So not just trauma bonding. So thank you for, closing this out with that acknowledgement and that celebratory marker for Mayor Wu and her family.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I know I am well over time and I haven't got a text yet. So thank you, Congresswoman.
Okay.
Happy New Year to you. I will do my best to come down on Monday, you know, I'll be shut in preparing for something. So I'm going to try to pop in on Monday, but if not, you know why. But
we certainly understand, but we thank you, you know, for the opportunity just to inform the community and make them aware. And you know, we'll see you soon, and good luck to every one of your New Year's resolutions. I mean, I'm already struggling on that water one. That's a struggle for me. They say you're supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. You know, it is a struggle, but you're right. It is important for our health and also for restoration. So good luck to every one of your resolutions. I look forward to being in community at the various King holiday events, and I'll see you soon.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you so much. Love you, and best to the family. And we'll see you sometime this weekend. Thank you. Okay. Everyone, that was our Congresswoman Pressley. As always, she comes in with energy and authenticity around the work that she's doing. We appreciate the fact that she was willing to be transparent and real about how her own mourning and grieving has contributed to how she supports the Barrows family. She named the Ambrose family. She named the Simmons family and others. There's the Minus family that was named as well, and a few others. And so, you know, I found myself in the last couple of days like, all right, Jimmy, you don't want to be, you know, holding space too much. And I don't want to say negative, but it's real of where we are with people. And that is, listen, I don't care how much all these little wonderful red, Miss Teresa, I thank you for the branding and Black Java and all this wonderful stuff. It's about the impact. It will forever, ever be about the impact. And so if I see something in our community and I think a social media post might help one person, almost cuss there. Thank you all for being with us today. To everybody that was over on Instagram, I didn't even look at Twitter, because you all don't, comment and stuff over there. I might go look for a second and just see if people commented on Twitter. I can see it on here if they did. And let me go look real quick. How many of y'all are watching? Oh, Jesus. And didn't say anything. Oh, there's 1,300 of you all watching on Twitter. Can y'all just say good morning? That's just the thing. If you're watching for the first time, I just like folks to comment on Twitter. Before we get ready to go, I want to again remind you of the event that the Congresswoman is doing on Monday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. It is taking place at the Bruce Boland Building. We are going to encourage you to register. There's a quick link, all lowercase jwj.info/AP MLK Day. It is also hyperlinked in the comments here. I forgot YouTube. Peace over to the folks that are watching on YouTube as well. Yes, Pam, we are definitely going to have lunch soon. And I got to get AP a coffee cup. Thank you, Ma, for reminding me. All right, everyone. Thank you all for being with us today. Before we get ready to go, I just want to also remind you the numbers for 2023 are coming out very, very soon. And while we have all these people in the room, it's cuffing season. And if you don't know what that means is it's a little cold outside. Well, it's cold outside. It's very cold outside. And sometimes we, lock folks in and cuffing season and get a boo. But we want to do that safely. So we want to remind you to be sure that you cuff safely during this winter season. Valentine's Day is coming. So for all the people that are going to celebrate on the 13th and the 15th and not the 14th and all that other stuff, make sure you plan to cuff safely. So there is, I'm going to put the link in the comments so you can go and ensure. There are 3 kiosks throughout the city of Boston where you can go 24/7 and get condoms and testing kits and different things like that. And so we're going to give you those addresses and also the link for you. The link is right now showing on the screen. It is all lowercase, and I will also put it in the comments, but 110 Claiborne Street in Dorchester, 714 Parker Street in Roxbury, and 565 Warren Street in Dorchester. If you want to go and get condoms and testing kits and information that you need to, sometimes we celebrate joy physically, and you need to make sure that you do it safely. So with that being said, we're going to get ready to go. Please join us tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And on Friday, we are going to have a special Freestyle Fridays with Darren Howell. He's coming with us on Friday. It is his birthday. He has himself been grieving, as we know. And so he's going to come in, and he also just has a lens and perspective around what we can do and how we can be more informed about information that we may need around different folks' immigration status and things like that. So again, thank all of you that are joining. If I can just get 2 more people, and we just did everybody. I think one time we had 1,500. There are 1,400 of you all in the room. Before you all leave today, if you do not follow, if you have not liked, if you have not commented, Twitter, but go and follow Java with Jimmy on Facebook. We're also on TikTok, and you can follow James W. Hills on Facebook as well. We're on Blue Sky. Everything is at Java with Jimmy. And also subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Okay. We cover elected officials like our Congresswoman that was here today. Mayor Wu will be coming in again soon. I just wanted to let you all know she dropped a picture of the baby and her family. And so I wanted to share that with you. I don't know if everyone has seen it yet, but here is Mayor Wu and Myra, AKA, I'm already calling her Mimi, because we know the story of Michelle's mother, and I'm sorry, Mayor Wu's mother, calling her Mimi. And so congratulations again to Mayor Wu. But again, if you are in a situation where you may not be ready for a child right now, you can get information about cuffing safely and family planning and healthy sexual, healthy options, healthy sex options at this link right here to cuff safely. We're going to put it in the comments for the hyperlink for you all to be able to hyperlink directly to that and get the information as to where the kiosks are. We're going to get that to you right now, and then we're going to let you all go. All right. And of course, this thing doesn't want to work with me. So again, I can't reiterate enough. All of you in the comments, first time viewers of Java with Jimmy on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. You can follow us and like us on Twitter and Facebook as well. All right. Thank you all so much. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Don't forget, on Friday, we're having a special Freestyle Fridays with Darren Howell. And that is it for me today. I got everything covered. Oh, 2 other things. Saturday is going to be a very interesting day. Christian service begins, their services begin on Friday. And then Saturday is also Kyrie's service. And then on Sunday, the young dance community in Boston is getting together. So we'll share more information about that. But please keep all the families that were named today and the families that were not named. And if you notice, Congresswoman Pressley had prompted you all in the comments to drop the names of those who have transitioned. And so you can, still do that. But just keep all of the families, but especially the Barrows and the Ambrose families in prayer this weekend as they celebrate the lives of those 2 young people. Thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Have a great day. And today is Wednesday. So we need to know that our self-care, our Black joy is important. And I often say, you ain't got to be Black to celebrate Black joy. I mean, folks who aren't Black are doing it anyway. So be intentional about it. That's it for me. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Peace, everybody.